Hello, and thanks for joining us tonight for Old Time Preaching and Preachers. Tonight we have a challenging question from Dr. R.C. Sproul, and he asks you, so what is it that made you believe? Why do you believe? What happened? It's from the podcast Ultimately from Ligonier. Let's take a listen and see what you think.
Why did you say yes to grace and your neighbor said no? Is it because you're more righteous than that person? Sola Gratia says, regeneration is solely the work of God's grace in your soul. I talk to my Arminian friends all the time about this and say, look, let me ask you a question. Why is it that you're a believer? Maybe members of your own family or friends that you have are not believers when you both heard the gospel. And they said, well, because I responded to the gospel and the other person didn't. I said, okay, you said yes to the aid of God's grace. God gave the same offer to your neighbor, and your neighbor said no. I want to know this. Why did you say yes? And your neighbor said no. Oh, because I'm free. I said, I understand that. But why in your freedom were you inclined to say yes to grace, and your neighbor said no? Is it because you're more righteous than that person is? Now, what would any Arminian say? Of course not. I don't believe that I'm in there because I'm righteous. I say, why not? What your friend did was the wrong thing. It's a sinful thing to say no to an offer of divine grace for salvation. Wouldn't you agree? And they said, yeah. And I said, and the right thing is to say yes. In the final analysis, the reason why you're saved and that person isn't is because you did the right thing and they did the wrong thing. And if you really think that that's the reason you're saved, the danger you're in is in actually trusting in what you have done rather than somebody else. How far away is that from Rome? If you really believe that it's what you did that made the difference. Sola Gratia says, salvation is monergistic at the beginning. Regeneration is solely the work of God's grace in your soul. Now, after he makes that change in your heart, after he changes the disposition of your soul, you come, you believe, you work for your entire Christian life in cooperation with sanctifying grace, and the rest of the Christian life is synergistic. But the beginning is by the divine initiative. And you're being rescued from the kingdom of darkness and from the state of the flesh is by God's grace and by God's grace alone. That's the doctrine of Sola Gratia, according to the Reformation.
What great R.C. Sproul, old-time preaching and preachers.
Thank you for listening to Ultimately with R.C. Sproul. Dr. Sproul founded Ligonier Ministries to proclaim the holiness of God in all its fullness to as many people as possible. To learn more about our holy God, request a free booklet by Dr. Sproul when you visit ultimatelypodcast.com/holy.
So there you go. What do you think? Leave a comment. Hit subscribe. Have a differing opinion? Go ahead. Won't hurt me. Tell me. In the meantime, Lord keeping me around, Lord keeping you around, Lord tarrying and willing, I will see you again next time. God bless. Have a great day. Grow in grace. And may you share Jesus at every opportunity that you get.